Welcome back, Fantasy Sharps podcast.
Everything you need to know for week 7. Let's dive into it.
So what are you thinking? What big game? We want to talk Giants, Eagles first. Big game to attack here, fantasy-wise. Hopefully we get Malik back. A.J. Brown showed out last week. He's number one wide receiver on a points per game basis at the moment. So some big studs firing off in that one.
Take a quick look into this game. First things first. Jalen Hurts got his weapons back. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith both played last week in full. No limitations. Both scored a touchdown. Great to see. He just didn't look the same without his guys. Too much of a load for Saquon. Saquon kind of took a back seat. The passing game kind of came through this week. Maybe it's because the Browns have a strong defensive line, but overall, positive signs from the Eagles side of the ball. And then on the Giants side of the ball, yeah, Malik, hopefully he comes back this week. What do you got for us?
The Eagles-Browns game was an interesting one. It had a pretty slow game flow. So it'd be interesting to see this game. Giants like to really throw. So it could be just a huge – the defenses – Giants played well against the Bengals. Eagles defense is one to absolutely attack. You should think that Giants are going to be able to keep up, and this game could easily turn into a shootout. Divisional game.
What's interesting is he was out with a concussion, and they had 10 days between that game and the next game. It was a long stretch from what I remember. And he got ruled out again, so it's hard to imagine he's out 3 weeks with a concussion unless it's extremely serious.
Yeah, I would be shocked if he's out this week. Yeah, they need him. Slayton got banged up in that game. Hyatt was a no factor. Wandale's taken a big load to this point. He's played in every game, so they need him back strong, and they're going to pepper him, I think, as soon as he comes back. What are your thoughts on the run game? If Singletary comes back, he's strong. Tyrone's played pretty unbelievable, so I can't imagine he's gone.
Devin Singletary, he is kind of scary. I don't know, man. He's probably he's the guy. I don't know why Tyrone Tracy wasn't drafted in the 5th round. Honestly, then he was just sitting on the waivers for weeks. This was so obvious. He's just a bridge running back, really.
I agree.
They drafted Tracy, and they're looking to see what they got at some point in the season, unless they completely outperformed their expectations. Singletary wasn't going to get 100% of the load. So that was a bit of an oversight. Even if he's healthy, there's no way it's not at least a split backfield at this point. I could see even 60% in favor of Tracy after the way he looked last game.
Devin got banged up from too much of a workload. They need weapons in that offense still. Wandale, Malik. Devin's been good, so I don't see Tyrone Tracy running away with the backfield or Devin Singletary not playing a lot. So from a fantasy perspective, it could kind of get a little ugly. Ideally, we would want to see the Buck situation where he plays a Bucky type role and they get him 10 carries and 3 catches. That'd be ideal for Tyrone moving forward. He could be a pretty nice little asset if the Giants offense has been pretty good fantasy wise. As bad as Daniel Jones has been, they throwing the ball a ton. They're not quite putting up points, but they're kind of a good PPR type offense. Slayton filled in decently with the Eagles defense struggling. I don't see any reason the Giants can't, 1, win this game, and 2, for them to not be able to put up points. And on the other side of the ball at the Eagles in the opener, he got his 2 weapons back in Saquon. That's the offense. Goddard and these other guys, whatever. I mean, they'll mix in, but there's not anything, a rookie coming on the Eagles. They're pretty, they're guys in fantasy. There's not many storylines for me on the Eagles side of the ball other than, is their offense going to be good or not?
This is a bit of a story here, which could be a boost for A.J. Brown. Goddard hamstring won't return to Sunday's matchup. He did come out of that last game against Cleveland. So I'd say that's probably the biggest storyline on that side of the ball offensively.
Yeah, watching that game, Calcaterra had a nice little game. He caught 4 balls. So
you picking him up?
Yeah, I mean, at tight end, that's a top 10 tight end, right? At 10.7 full point PPR fantasy points, to take that. And he played really maybe half a game. Intriguing little guy right there. How many pass attempts did Jalen Hurts in that Browns game?
Over under 30.5. What do you think?
I'd say under 30. That game went by so fast. They were running the ball. The clock was constantly ticking. Devontae Smith only had 3 catches, and he caught the long touchdown pass at the end. Otherwise, it would have had a really quiet game. But I think all that volume flows to Devontae slowly here. He was coming off the concussion. So Devontae's really the beneficiary.
Look at his rating with those two guys back in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And Cleveland stinks. All right, let's move on to the next game. Definitely an exciting one.
What's another one? Houston, Green Bay. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, I imagine this is going to be a very popular game environment to stack for DFS as well as Battle Royale. I could see ways this will fail just with Texans defense playing decently well. A lot of people are going to rush to Mixon this week after his performance last week. Tank Dell definitely got a boost. Started him last week in one of my leagues, needed him, and he came through. That was good to see. Hate to see Nico out. He's still a top 10 receiver after missing a game. I think he's number 4 still. Tragic stuff, but yeah, this is going to be a very popular game in DFS. I can only imagine. Stroud doubles with the Jaden Reed bring back. Stroud doubles with the Jacobs bring back. Stroud doubles with a Kraft bring back. You could do a Love double with Reed and Dobbs. You could do a Love double with Reed and Watson. Wicks is likely going to be out of this one, but there's so many bring back potentials in this one. It's just what story are you telling yourself? If you think the Texans are going to run the ball a bunch again and come out to a big lead, and then the Packers are going to have to throw the whole second half, then maybe you do a Jordan Love double with a Joe Mixon bring back. That actually would have smashed last week. So I don't know. I always get weary when you hop on the same thing that happened last week. There's so much variance in the NFL. So I'm not saying I'm going to fade this game, but I'm not going to be as high on it as the field necessarily. But I imagine if we go just to Fantasy Labs real quick and look at the Vegas totals, I have to imagine this is top 3 for over-unders. What do you think number 1 is?
Commanders, Panthers. Just 2 terrible defenses and offenses that can move the ball. The Commanders' defense is going to be absolutely horrendous this week. Seattle and Falcons. Seattle's defense is terrible. Falcons' defense is pretty good. Back to your point, the Texans' defense is playing really strong. Packers spread the ball around a ton. I saw a stat that none of their wide receivers has had over a 20% target share in a game this year, but Jaden Reed still smashed. He's like wide receiver 4.5 point PPR in the year, showing he just had as a solid floor. He had 4 for like 26 and a touchdown this past week against the Cardinals. He's a guy that has the best floor and best. I don't know if he has best ceiling. Maybe Christian Watson has the best ceiling. That was what I was going to kind of add is Dobbs and Wicks are kind of in that unique role where they can just kind of get faded out of game scripts. And if you're going to play DFS, you want to shoot for a guy like Christian Watson that's going to catch bombs and doesn't need huge volume. If none of these wide receivers are going to get volume, it's maybe not great to count on Dobbs or Wicks on a week-to-week basis. You were on Dobbs. You had a great call. Pimo was all over him scoring a touchdown. He texted me the game. He was like, Dobbs is my favorite guy to score a touchdown. It was a great call. Another squeaky wheel gets the grease moment. It's still a developing story. These guys are still young. That following them last year and now this year, they're still stepping into their roles. The reason Jaden Reed's produced is his role's the most certified of anybody on that offense, and he has the most plays that continuously go to him. And whether that's rushing, passing, if the game script gets out of whack, then Jaden Reed still has the opportunity to catch some big passes, whereas the other guys don't have all those options in their game script yet as possession type guys, where Jaden Reed does. But yeah, go ahead with your TD theory here. This is amazing.
No, it just took all the anytime touchdown odd spreads and filtered them for the biggest favorites to the least favorites. And I'm not going to necessarily just hammer the top guys. It was more so the guys that stood out to me that, wow, they're really big favorites over guys that are much better players. So I just kind of highlighted those, and I'll go through this just really fast. Yellow was just what stood out to me, but I'll give it a green if it hit. So Bucky hit. Jalen Hurts played pretty well. I wouldn't say he was optimal, but he didn't kill you either. These 2 failed.
Yeah.
These guys all smashed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not Eckler necessarily, but he didn't kill you.
He
These two did
scored,
really well.
right? Eckler got in.
No, but he had a bunch of
No.
catches. He was good in PPR.
Mm-hmm.
Madison smashed.
But
Algier smashed.
not necessarily approaching this from a we want to place bets on DraftKings with these guys, but these are great guys to start to think about pushing into your DFS lineups and battle royale lineups. They have great odds to score touchdowns. DraftKings, FanDuel knows something we kind of don't about maybe a game script. That's kind of, I think, what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Wicks got
I mean,
hurt.
Tankdale's a good example. We know Nico's out, but Tankdale's a small dude. He's a tough guy to bank on scoring a touchdown. I get he's going to be on the field a ton. I mean, Javonte Williams, right, starting running back. Chris Godwin's been unbelievable this year. Olave, if he didn't get concussed in that game script, would have been a smash too. He would have been a great bet.
You're always going to see the top guys towards the top, but if they really know that top guy's going to score, they're going to be in this range. And then I consider it almost like an anomaly. And what's the definition of an anomaly?
Something out of the ordinary. Anomaly is like an outlier.
Something that deviates from what's standard, normal, or expected. So the biggest anomaly that I found this week was Romeo Dobbs. Wicks didn't stand out crazy, and he did get hurt, so this one's just whatever. But Dobbs didn't even play the last week. And what really stood out to me and just made no sense, and this one obviously smashed, and I put him
Mm-hmm.
into some DFS lineups, even a Battle Royale lineup. I got 250th in that Battle Royale lineup, and I was 12 points off $50,000. Like, I was so close. I had
Dobbs,
Godwin,
Godwin, Love. That lineup was there.
Bijan, like just an absolute sick lineup. Like, I'm getting so close in Battle Royale, and this spreadsheet helped me. And I took Dobbs with my last pick, and that's how I correlated Love. But just it was like so weird. It's like, all right, Dobbs is here. Didn't even play last week, and that's a quadruple-headed monster of a wide receiving core. But
Mm-hmm.
then guys like Calvin Ridley, who were seeing like news that, oh, the coach wants to feed him more balls. And
Mm-hmm.
then guys like George Pickens, who's the alleged wide receiver one for his team, is 235 minus 175 is a 60-point difference. And then I also saw Dobbs at 185. And as I was looking and saying this doesn't make any sense, it legit moved to 175. And I was like, all right, they know something. And he
Mm-hmm.
scored 2 TDs. And this is the second time I've done this analysis. It's been pretty spot on. I also did it with Tucker Kraft, and he went off like I'm not talking about last week when he had 2 touchdowns or 2 weeks ago. I'm talking about like the
Mm-hmm.
first time he really blew up and had 14 points and everyone rushed to pick him up. Vegas somehow knew that. Kate Otten marked him, had a touchdown. Jatavian Sanders had a good game. It's like, why do they like Jatavian Sanders out of the blue? Manuel Wilson didn't have a touchdown, but he was decent. It just kind of lets you know just these random guys. Noah
They
Brown,
were
decent
they
game.
they knew the Cardinals were just going to get blown out of that game. Low key, Vegas knew it was all over Green Bay. All their guys low odds. Jaden Reed was minus 110. Was pretty crazy. I wonder what he is this week. He's probably still pretty low. He
Jaden
just
Reed minus
smashed.
110. Yeah, that's crazy.
They just have so many plays for him.
Another game we
Another
can
big game.
pop over to. What was that one that was at the top? Seahawks, Falcons. That could be a good one to dive into.
Ken has been beasting this backfield. He had like a career high targets last week, something crazy. Looking like a stud. Their defense can't stop anything right now. So Seahawks are kind of a smash. They're struggling scoring touchdowns, I think, which is a reason to be bullish on Ken. They're probably going to pound him when they get in the red zone. Geno seems to struggle. Tyler Lockett, JSN, just kind of doing this each week, bouncing off each other. Kind of one person has a week, the other guy has a week. DK, just ultimate ceiling wide receiver. Not the greatest floor, but it's, you're going to take the good with the bad with DK this year. He had a few plays called back, 3 catches, 11 targets. In the last game, he had, I think, like 2 touchdowns called back. So that's
Damn.
tough, but he can have a little bit of inefficiency to his game, whether that's Geno's fault. He can be a little maybe sloppy at the catch point, but he can also provide you elite ceiling, which is what you want in fantasy these days.
For sure. Tough matchup too. Wondering if we'll ever see the ceiling for Jackson Smith-Njigba. It's like so close. He just keeps coming so close to reaching it, but he hasn't eclipsed it yet.
I mean, we look at week 1, 12 catches, 117. I was feeling great about my dynasty offseason trade. I traded a 2025 first round pick for JSN, and I forget, maybe a couple of other swaps, but I still feel great. I think once Tyler Lockett's just going to continuously to fade in dynasty. He's a better dynasty asset than he is redraft asset, but he hasn't been terrible. Tyler Lockett's been basically the same for free. I mean, you could probably have gotten Tyler Lockett off the waiver wire, and you had to probably invest a 7th round draft pick in JSN.
1 week at least this season, he's going to be necessary for optimal in DFS or Battle Royale. I just can't pinpoint it. Haven't been on him. Maybe this is the week. If this is the highest game total, then maybe this is the week you need JSN.
He doesn't pose the greatest touchdown upside, but he can be a great volume play. 12 catches for 100 yards. We'll take that. No touchdowns is fine. That's like 6 for 100 and a tut, right? In full point PPR, half point PPR. That's a touchdown, 100 yards, no catches. That's a good game from a running back. 16 points is a solid game. That's basically hitting your projection. It's not booming for first round picks, but for 7th round picks, it's a boom.
Is this Jake Bobo Teetle week?
No.
I might pick him up. Dude, he keeps getting end zone targets. He just can't take them. He can't catch them. He wouldn't be a good play in most redraft leagues. He could be like a salary save dart throw in DFS.
Pull up the schedule this week.
Jake Bobo.
Let's look at some long shot scroll. Patriots guys, Patriot wide receivers are kind of a crapshoot right now. If you can kind of maybe pick a guy, and if Drake May's legit, there's some guys, some value there. DeMario had a good game. Kendrick Bourne's getting healthy. He quite hasn't had the snap count.
Had a sick little Drake May double stack bring back this week. It was close.
3 turnovers and still put up really solid fantasy points. And they're going to want to work him late in the game. He could easily be a garbage time merchant this year at worst.
I called it last week. I said, I guarantee people are going to be rushing to pick him up. I said, I wish I could stash him, but our benches are just so short. And I can't add another quarterback. We get 6 guys on our bench.
We still haven't seen his floor. It could be quite bad. The Patriots are horrendous.
I don't know, dude. I was watching highlights of him playing basketball yesterday. Did you see that video?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, especially as a Patriots fan, and now TJ's all excited.
Their roster needs a lot of work.
It's not the worst.
It's pretty bad. They don't really have an alpha. They have like 3 slot guys running around out there. Jalen Polk's a slot guy. Hunter Henry's a average tight end these days. Maybe one of the worst offensive lines. The defense is okay.
Hot take was Hunter Henry last week, and he did catch a touchdown.
I was going to mention that when we were on your spreadsheet, you were all over Hunter Henry. I didn't know a good time to bring that up, but that was a great call. I kind of wish I picked him up and played him over fucking like Kincaid.
Plus 550. It wasn't an odds call. It was just my thought process was historically rookies lean on their tight end, at least early on.
He's always been a little bit underappreciated. He ends up probably being tight end 10, and nobody drafts him. The same things last year with Mac Jones, whoever they're throwing out there.
I did have a panic best ball team where only had 1 quarterback stacked, and basically every quarterback was gone. So I ended up with a Drake May, Hunter Henry stack because even Pop Douglas was gone at that point. Jalen Polk was gone at that point. What about Booty?
Coach mentioned Booty. I didn't watch their game. I wish I had now. See how their wide receivers kind of shook out a bit.
He just caught that deep bomb.
He had a big catch.
40-yard touchdown. Drake May's first career touchdown.
Not bad. He's caught in all of his targets, so he's sure-handed. Coach likes that. Defensive coaches like that. It's going to be a guessing game. If you have to use him, he was a preseason hype merchant. And then the Ravens guy, too. Tez Walker, the dude from UNC. Same thing. This game's kind of interesting. The Jags side of the ball. Your boy Evan Ingram had a solid game. Great game from a tight end. He had a fumble and still put up good numbers.
That almost fucked me. I woke up and I completely forgot they were playing in London. And I would have started him over who'd I have Zach Ertz instead.
Or
Been waiting to play Ingram, and I wake up and he's just like already going off on my bench, and I'm like, God damn it! It's like 9:45 in the morning, and he's already got like 3 catches for 40 yards, finished
he
with like 10
was
for 100, something stupid.
he was catching a lot of the checkdowns from Trevor Lawrence in that game, and I mean Trevor was looking his way a lot. It was a good game for Evan. Although there was definitely a concerted effort to get him involved. I don't know what the Jags are. They lost ETN. Like, are they really just going to pound Tank Bigsby against the Patriots? Maybe. No. Kirk and BTJ and Gabe Davis is annoying.
I had the dream best ball bench. I was doing best ball draft after best ball draft after best ball draft. So I loved Ray Davis and Tank Bigsby.
I'm still not sold on Tank because the Ernest is getting all the third down work and 2 minute. And you need Tank to like be out some long runs or getting on the goal line, which that's possible. But the Jags offense also sucks, so they're never in the red zone.
That's why I hung on to Ray over Tank. Just at the end of the day, I like to bet on the offensive environment. Who's going to have a better game script more often than not? The Bills or the Jags? Who's more often going to put their backups in because they're up so many points? It's probably the Bills. So that was more so the idea. And then obviously, if James Cook gets hurt, it's just a beautiful thing. He looked amazing. But I like both of them. Now Tank gets the full role with ETN out. I think you mentioned Dearnest, but he's always just been a guy. What do you call that? A jag? Well, he's literally on the
Jag.
Jag. He's just a guy. The
Mhm.
just a guys.
Yeah. And when ETN goes out, then Tank's role just has that much more ability to be bigger. That's an annoying thing with fantasy is these RB1 guys who are more talented early on play when guys are 100%, guys are flying around. RB2s kind of take from them at times. Then they get hurt. Then RB2 has the whole offense when all the guys are a bit slow and generally takes off, which is why the no RB build is just so much more popular these days. And it's hard to argue when you can find guys like Montgomery in the 6 was a great pick. Even getting back to your point about you want running backs on good offenses from a game flow perspective. I don't know how generally good you want the defense to be with the running back, but like on the passing side with wide receivers, you want wide receivers in good offenses with bad defenses. That's like a dream. They're just constantly in shootouts, right? When you have good wide receivers with really good defenses, sometimes that's just like capped, which happened with like Garrett Wilson or teams that are just so defensive oriented that they're going to slow play games, right? Bengals a great example. Perfect.
If the Bengals had a good defense, they'd probably be the best team in the league.
I need to make a checklist of like how to rank players. There's talent, there's volume, how bad is your defense? There's so many factors. What your opponent from a week to week can bump a guy, maybe just one or two, can drop a guy one or two, which some people take it for granted, but there's so many different fantasy leagues these days that people are met with, do I play Malik, AJ Brown, or Justin Jefferson? I know that's crazy, but some people have that in their dynasty leagues. Some people have that in these 6-man leagues or 8-man leagues. And I think too many times everybody thinks people play in like these generic snake draft 10-team leagues these days. And they're just all looking for like that like flex guy, which there's tons of those leagues. Don't get me wrong. But fantasy is like so much more evolved these days, in my opinion.
Yeah, and having a checklist like that is smart. I did it one year, and that's how I ended up with really good running backs. That was the year I traded you Nick Chubb. My checklist was I filtered for offensive lines and I wanted running backs with the top 5 O-line, and that's the checklist for that. And then for wide receivers, I wanted guys if they were on the Chiefs, the Bills, the Chargers at the time were a good offensive team. The Saints were a good offensive team for years. The Steelers were a great offensive team for years. They had Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, it's smart to have a checklist and not just go, oh, that guy's a stud. And then you end up with a guy like DeAndre Hopkins.
All these high name guys that are fading in opportunity, fading in situations.
Yeah, that's where I fucked up taking Jerry Jeudy and not following that process. Like if you put Jerry Jeudy on the Chiefs, I'm sure he'd be shredding it right now. But sometimes got to just bet on the environment.
Do you liking Judy this week and going
No,
forward? Let me get him.
I hope he gets traded, man.
Let me get him cheapy.
For who?
I'll give you Christian.
Christian Watson?
Kirk.
Evan Ingram, but
T-Law McDouble stack.
well, I guess they're not going to trade Jerry Jeudy. They just acquired him, right? I'm such a dumbass.
Dude, let me get him real cheapy.
Because you're saying because Amari's gone. I haven't even really processed the implications of that yet.
You got to give me him cheapy. You didn't even know.
No, because imagine they just send Deshaun to Alaska and then Jameis comes in. He's just like, "Ata!" And then I just never lose a game again. This might be a Cinderella story this season. Rasheed goes down, Nico goes down, and then just the McCorkle double stacks. Just
the rise of Jerry Jeudy on the Browns with Deshaun Watson out of nowhere. Judy's a huge beneficiary. I'm praying on the Bills side, this is a benefit for Kincaid, and things just open up a bit. I think he was due for a big game against the Jets. It just like the plays that were called for him. Allen got chased out of the pocket. Allen overthrows him. Allen throws him a fastball, and he can't do nothing with it. There's just, for whatever reason, the connection hasn't come to fruition like it did last year, but I'm hoping King Cooked isn't King Cooked for real.
I think I'm flag planning this week. 2 titles from King Cooked. I feel it. Against the Titans, just touchdown Kincaid! Another touchdown Kincaid! I just feel that your team's due for a bounce back. Everyone's been stacking them, and then everyone's like, ooh, Amari's coming into town, and then they're going to bring him in slowly. King Cook's going to catch all the tutties, and that's just how I see it going this week. Last week it was Hunter Henry. It's not even that hot of a take. Everyone's been high on him all year. But everyone's losing faith. 2 touchdowns, not 1, 2 from King Cook this week.
Here's an interesting thing, too. If James Cook is hurt more than people are kind of leading on, and maybe that even forced the Bills' hand more. I don't know if Devontae really's just set the market. I guess he's optimistic, so that's good. But McDermott lied the entire week last week, so can we really take his word? But Ray Davis was awesome. I dropped Ty Johnson. I think Ray Davis is clearly the guy. If Cook's out, he looked like a stud.
Ray, who's your baby, Davis?
Yeah, that's a good call.
It was really tough holding on to him with how short our benches are, but I just really don't see any other running back on the waiver wire with more upside right now.
I'd be interesting if they can go more pass heavy with Amari, or if Cook is hurt. I know they ran the ball hard. This will be an interesting test for the Bills with the Titans, actually. Titans have a good defense. The Bills should run away with the game. It'll be interesting kind of game flow perspective. I don't know how fruitful of a fantasy game it'll be, but maybe the Titans come out and put up some points. Short week.
Yeah, if I do play Josh Allen, I think I'm just single stacking him, hoping he gets in the end zone with his legs, maybe get some rushing yards, and then just finds one guy twice, whether that's Kincaid, Shakir. I don't know about Amari Cooper if he's going to come on immediately. What do you think? Do you think Amari's going to get slotted in right away?
They'll play a handful of snaps, maybe 20 snaps on some run plays. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I imagine he's in Buffalo tonight. He's got the playbook sent to him. Things happen a lot quicker behind the scenes to eventually get him up.
Josh Allen, has he been frustrating, or is he like, yeah, Josh Allen?
I would say they've been frustrating just from like a play calling perspective. Miami was a blowout. Jags was a blowout. Then they got blown out. Then Houston, they really kind of struggled from an offense. It's an even matchup game. This game could turn into a blowout. Houston's defense is maybe a little better than we thought, but it's Josh Allen. They're still one of the better offenses. You want to see them produce in that game. Them finally doing something in the Jets game and Josh having a good game gives me some hope. But if they were bad in that game, I would have really panicked. But he was good, and they're adding Amari. So I'm pretty bullish now. Hard to not be more bullish.
I'm shocked that was his first rushing touchdown. I thought he's been just bulldozing one in every week, but no interceptions is really nice. Last year, he would just be bulldozing touchdowns in the end zone, but he'd have 4 picks. So it'd basically just get wiped out.
Or like a fumble too. He's gotten lucky. He's gotten a little bit lucky from that side. He's been pretty safe with throwing picks, but it's nuked his yard ceiling a bit. So it'll be interesting as the season goes on. He's just not throwing the ball as much as he did last season. He doesn't have over 30 attempts in a game. That's crazy. But like I was saying, the game flows have been weird. We've only had 2 real games from him, one not good and one really good.
Last night was a shootout, and then the second half sucked.
Yeah.
I think they scored 3 points each. Fireworks whole first half.
It was a windy night, but agreed. The ball was kind of going back and forth. That was a great setup from a fantasy game. Possessions were short, big plays, decent amount of throwing. The worst in fantasy is when you see teams running the ball for 4 yards a clip, right? 4 yards a clip, 4 yards a clip, first down. It's like a minute 30 off the clock. Now they got a whole nother minute, whatever, to run. And so you want teams throwing, stopping the clock, rather than even balanced teams, fast offenses, teams that you see kind of get up to the line quick. You got to notice these things. That takes you to the next level, helps you find the deeper guys. Maybe not in the best offenses all the time, but that's the problem with the Titans. They're slow and they suck. You can't work with that.
Well, I saw a stat that Deshaun Watson's 0 for his last 20-something third downs. If you're just not picking up first downs, you're just not going to eat on offense. So that's another reason why you should have a checklist like that. Can the quarterback on this team pick up first downs? Because if not, I'm not going to be in that many creative opportunities. And that's why Jahmyr Gibbs' floor is just so damn high, because the Lions move the ball so well on offense.
Mm-hmm. It was nice to see him catch some passes. I think he had like 3 for 24. And it wasn't even like they try to get him the ball. They still haven't had games where it's Jahmyr Gibbs' game. It's coming. Let guys wear down still early. I'm still happy with where he is from week 5 this year, where it was week 5 last year. You have to put these things in perspective sometimes, that still early in the season. I know we're at week 7, so it's like it's go time. It's starting to get go time. But if you have aspirations for the playoffs, we still have half the regular season, and then we have 3 more weeks. So plenty of time for your guys to turn around. You got to try to see the big picture, not try to panic too much, and stay the course on maybe some guys who are struggling or coming back, whatever.
It's a nice floor game from Gibbs right there. David Montgomery scored every game this year, and he had 2 this week. Let's look at my odds spreadsheet. He was number 3 in odds, way over Gibbs. It's just interesting. He's got to slow down at some point, right?
Absolutely. It's the same thing that happened last year. He was running hard, banging off guys.
Do you see you got a contract extension?
I don't think it changes much from a fantasy perspective. I think, if anything, it does lower Gibbs' dynasty value a tad. He's just going to be around and lurking touchdowns.
Yeah, could you imagine it was just the Gibbs show and then Craig Reynolds behind him?
God, it'd be scary.
Same time, it keeps him healthy.
Yeah, it's modern day of football. These guys are too fast on defense that these guys can't take the hits. Gibbs is a bigger dude than people give him credit for. Slowly trickling along, picking up 15 points a game, 12 points a game. You'll take it. It's not huge ceiling games yet, but we should have those in the bag still. I'm cool with saving those in later in the year here.
Absolutely. Damn, Jameson Williams, leading receiver for the Lions.
What a great game this should be. Yeah, Amon-Ra's been a little underwhelming, actually. Jameson just has some huge plays.
I was looking today. He's ranked 20th. Not killing you, but also not what you drafted him to be. Better days ahead, though. As long as he's healthy, ton of upside.
There really needs to be some dominoes fall, like Aiden Hutchinson getting hurt. There's too many guys. There's Gibbs, there's Monty, there's Laporta, there's JMO, there's Amon-Ra. The defense is good. They're crushing teams. So something's got to give here on this offense, and it'll happen. You just don't want it to be your guy. It's hard to plan for, hard to know what's coming.
Tim Patrick, sneaky.
I was holding Jalen Naylor because I liked him from a high potential perspective. JJ or Addison go down again. You have a guy who's stepping into a really good role, but I didn't have the bench spot, so I let him roll, right? Rather than holding some crummy slot guy who's catching 5 catches a game for 40 yards. This guy has good wide receiver 2 potential. He showed it already this season.
Yeah, he went 3 straight with the tutty.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't been as involved because Addison's healthy now. How did Addison do against the Jets? I don't think he did much.
Mm-mm.
8 targets, though. I like him this week.
Me too. He's a good player.
It should be a good game. What's the over-under on that? That's 1, 2, third highest total at 50. And
Mm-hmm.
it's gone up 3 points from where it opened. Whereas kind of like we were talking about with the Texans game, we said that can sneaky be a defensive game from the Texans. Maybe it doesn't shoot out quite as much as people hope. And it did go down -1 from the original opening of 48.5. So just good to monitor these, just see how Vegas feels about the environment. And right now it looks like the Falcons Seahawks is the highest total.
Green Bay just runs the ball a lot too. They trickle the clock. Detroit's going to be banged up after last week. Aiden Hutchinson's out for the season. Backs were getting crushed. They paid the price for that big win. The Vikings are 3-point favorites in this.
It was tough to bring back Cowboys players last week because they were so expensive and the offense didn't do anything. But you got to hope these offenses can both put up their own end of the bargain. So I think this is definitely a good game to stack, bring back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be on top of these top 3 games for sure.
JJ feels like an absolute rock this week against them, to be honest with you. It's hard to play anybody else on the Vikings, so you know JJ's going to eat. But where are you going to put your money, right? They're coming off a bye. JJ hasn't had a huge game. I think Justin Jefferson can have 140, 2 tuts, and Jordan Addison can go 6 for 100, no tut, right? And the other guys fill out the 320, 350 that Darnold throws for on them because they're gonna have to score. We know the Lions are gonna be able to move the ball. I think Vikings D isn't gonna be unreal. I think this is a Gibbs game. They're going to potentially be down if Vikings D is good. They're going to have to throw, and they're going to need to manufacture some touches for Gibbs, and we'll see how good Goff is. That's how you beat the Lions. You put it in Goff's hands, make him throw the ball, and go from there.
He has been playing great, though.
He has. I mean, that offense is humming. You're playing behind the best offensive line, 2 good running backs. You have the best run game. Play action, Amon-Ra. A deep target who's really coming on. Jamison Williams has been awesome. He's been really good. Jared's hitting him. It's really what it's been. It's kind of been Monty Jamo's show.
Everyone's eating.
Except Laporta. I mean, Laporta caught the touchdown, luckily, but outside of that, he's been brutal. He only had 1 catch. That was the only catch he had all game.
If he could have caught a few more balls, I would have won a lot of money. Probably like 7 more points would have won me $5,000.
Let's go look at my Manders Panthers. That's a good game to attack, I think. I hate to say it, but I'm on the Panthers in this one, and I love the over. The Commanders D is going to be terrible. We lost Jonathan Allen. Our secondary is so bad. Then the Commanders are going to put a point. So it'll be interesting to see if Brian Robinson plays in this game. I'm playing him this week. TJ Daniels getting his full squad back, which sucks. He had Kyron out, Justin out, Brian out last week. He put up 66 points. Now I get him fully loaded, except he won't have Rashad White. But he's got a good little team. Go look at our matchup. It's actually a good little matchup. He's got a really good team. I think he has one of the highest projections this week. He has Justin Jefferson. He has Mike Evans. He dropped Mark Andrews, which was a little dumb. He makes some questionable decisions. We're not going to argue that. But he has a good roster from an auto draft. This is why I think I'm going to bring up auction this year for our draft. But he is leaving the league, supposedly.
How's he 2-4?
He's had some up and down weeks. He's had some duds. He didn't start playing Jaden until week 4 or 5 once he traded Lamar. Although Lamar was balling. It's actually kind of interesting. So he's a little tight end weak, a little flex weak, but he's as strong from Mike Evans up as you'll see in our league. You know, my RB2 is a little weak. I'm pretty strong with AJB, Malik, Gibbs, Josh, but then I'm like Bucky Green-ish in the RB2, which is like not B-Rob, Kyron level.
Who picked up Mark Andrews?
Simmons dropped $8. I had a waiver in for him too. I didn't get him. So pissed. If Mike Kincaid Josh stack starts clicking, that's really going to take this team to the next level. I'll get some huge splash plays from Worthy. That's going to be huge. AJ Brown, Malik, Reed. Yeah, Malik's still top 10 almost, top 12. He's missed 2 weeks. He's still top 12.
What's going on here, boy?
What?
Why do you drop 3 guys, or what happened?
Yeah, I just had to get rid of the dead weight, mix it up in the waivers, get people thinking. Can give you all the secrets.
This is the beautiful thing about our league is even if the waivers are competitive, people have to drop good players to pick up guys because our benches are so short. Like now Xavier Leggett's free.
There's a lot of IR stacking with the 2 IR spots that we've left in from COVID. So I got like Marshawn Lloyd chilling in there, which I'm kind of liking. Tough.
I got a lot of him in best ball, Marshawn Lloyd. I need him to come back.
I know it hasn't paid dividends. What do you got going on in the? You're gonna rock both. You're gonna rock Kirk again. That's a good matchup. I like that. You can probably rock that again this week. All the Falcons.
McCorkle mega stack rest of season, baby.
You kind of got to play for dubs. It might be hard to kind of keep up points wise, right?
I don't think I've scored 100 once this season.
That's crazy. I think I've scored 100 every week except once, and I'm 2-4.
My team was so good on paper too, with Nico and Rasheed.
Go show chat my matchup and how I lost this week. I had freaking Allen and Kincaid Monday night, and he had Allen Lazar. I was down like 18 coming into the game. I have 3 losses by a touchdown or less, 6 points or less. And sorry. But it's all good. I'm putting up points. I'm hanging in there.
How shitty did that Hail Mary feel? Whereas I was in pure elation.
It was awful. It was just like my stomach dropped. I knew I had lost. It was gonna be really tough to overcome that. Because as Josh went off from that point, it only gave Lazard more opportunity. Talking about how important the stack bring back is. If you're playing an opponent, you bring back that guy in the matchup, it was huge. It was really tough to overcome from that point forward.
Yeah, that's crazy. That sucks. Lazard's just
oh yeah, points. That sucks.
No, it really does.
If the season ended today, I would be in the playoffs. So
yeah, my team needs to just win games. I can't.
And I need points. I can go for wins too, obviously, with going for a lot of points, but I can't quite just play like a matchup game, which I used to kind of like to play a little head-to-head at times. There's a little bit of that strategy.
This is egregious. Oh, yeah, just because they have 1 more win or 2 more wins than everyone else. They have this high of a playoff percentage. Get the fuck out of here. Fantasy football is so fickle. All these teams are going to get riddled with injuries in the next 6 weeks.
I was talking to Eric. Eric's team before this week was like looking like one of the best. And now after this week, you're like, I don't know what that team looks like. It's crazy how it can flip on you in the drop of a week. Mason hurt. Thomas pooped. Addison by Mooney pooped.
Week 5, 153 points. It's looking real nice here.
Yeah, right? With CD scoring an 8.9 and Mason scoring 8.3. He was feeling great. And then now you got to like click this week. It's so glitchy. Yeah. And now they just completely pooped in week 6. And he feels completely awful about his team. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. He also got rid of D-Hop, which D-Hop hasn't been crushing it, but that just lowers his depth a little bit when he thought he had more depth than he actually has.
You called it this week that he's going to, or actually it was the week before that you were saying he's going to have that 3 touchdown game, but you pop him in there, he gives you that potential. He sucks. He has a terrible floor this year with Will Levis, but he has that potential to catch 3 touchdown bombs, which would break your fantasy week in our league.
You know what I just realized too is I almost dropped Ray, who's your baby Davis. So it was just hitting the point where it's just really hard to hold on to him. And if I dropped him, Eric 100% would have played him against me, and I would have lost last night.
I think I would have had him because I went after Ty, but I went after Ty too. But I still think I probably would have snagged Ray. I'm just like trying to own the Bills at this point.
Yeah. Well, you almost screwed me. Curtis was like this close to catching a touchdown last night, and that would have probably ended my season.
Been rough. I'm glad you beat Eric. I needed you to win.
I think everyone was probably rooting for me because my team's outlook's not great right now. But Eric was gonna be 5-1 if I lost, and now his team looks poop, so he's just gonna fall off a little bit.
And then you get Nico back second half, maybe give you a little push, potentially. Hoping.
Yeah, I might need to make a trade though. I think I need to be smart here and do something where I can get like a 2-for-1, get a little depth, maybe even trade Bijan. I don't know.
Yeah, let me get Bijan. Who do you want for Bij? Gibbs and Christian.
Gibbs and Christian. No, but it's funny because I thought Bijan was going to be gone at that point, and I told you I was legitimately going to take Gibbs. And at this point, it wouldn't be that crazy of a straight up trade, Bijan for Gibbs. So, like, I'm not even sure if he would 100% do that. But
very similar situations, except Bijan's more of like the 1A, but the 1B is the Monty type. It's just a little different looking.
And I imagine if I traded you Bijan, you'd want Algier too. They're kind of a package deal. I don't know. I got to think. I got to do something. Back to this matchup, though, because this is definitely the matchup of the week.
Yeah, I think Dalton's a great cheap play. Deontay, stack it with Deontay. I don't know if you want to double stack. I mean, Chubba's smash.
Leggett got in the end zone again. Is it Leggett or Leggett?
I think it's Leggett, but don't quote me on it.
Why did he get dropped?
He's just like, I mean, he had the good week against the Bengals. Simmons is the most ridiculous team. He's in first place. He's kind of like auto drafted, like post to my reaches and hit. He got Terry. I should have took Terry, but that looks nice. He's got Cup coming back. He's got Swift and Moore. Look how deep his bench is, though. Like Downs, Justice Hill. That's a deep team.
Ooh, and a little sneaky Hawkin Lord.
I beat him, so I'm pumped on that. I beat him week 1. Thank God.
That's huge.
Yeah. I have to play him again, though. I'm kind of pissed about. My schedule is brutal this year, actually. My 3 matchups I repeat are the 3 teams in the top points right now, I think, except Curly. I play Simmons, Guider, and somebody.
Isn't it funny how that works, though? Because I think we had the same schedule for years.
We used to always play twice, I feel like, didn't we? We used to always play early and late. I used to always play Simmons early, though. I always play Simmons week 1, and I do usually generally beat him week 1, which is funny. I still think your week 1 matchup stayed the same. I think after that it changed, though. Because I don't think King could change it.
Yeah, I feel like I always beat Eric. I could never beat Curly, but I finally, the last few times, I think I've beat Curly. But for so long, I just couldn't. His guys would just explode.
It's actually kind of cool mixing up the schedule. It's funny how it plays an impact because it would be lovely to play like Max and King right now, but maybe they get some guys and they get their team back together a little bit by the time you play them, or to always see ahead, or, you know, if good teams lose some key pieces. Good draft talent in our league that those picks that maybe have low ADP on ESPN generally just keep creeping up and get taken. And so you're left with some tough decisions and guys that weren't expecting at your pick.
Can you hear Reg?
Yeah, what is she doing?
Can you hear her squeaking?
Kinda.
Show the squeakies. It's this.
Reggie. We're gonna do golden hour. We'll have Reg and Steven make some picks. Reg and Steven hour. Reg.
She's tweaking right now. Not thrilled about this whole concept.
She's a good girl. I think if you want to play Jaden, you stack it with Terry. You don't have to stack with Terry.
I'm kind of feeling the Jaden running back stack this week, especially if B-Rob is healthy.
Eckler is probably a nice little RB stack, right?
Yeah, just because you could just run down the Panthers' throat. Just that was the whole idea, but behind the Corkle McMega stack last week. week 6. Kirk didn't necessarily go too crazy, but Bijan had 24. Algier had 19. So you just like bet on the run game. Any run game that's playing the Panthers right now, just bet on that. And then Jaden Daniels runs. So I might play some naked Jaden, might play him with an Eckler, might play him with B-Rob, maybe even a sneaky Jeremy McNichols because a lot of people played him last week and he failed. So just bring him back. 2
I actually
touchdowns.
really like that call. I think McNichols is a good call this week.
Assuming B-Rob's out. Yeah.
Yeah, they just
hopefully.
gave Eckler a big workload last week, it seems. So, and it was a tough game. It was a brutal game against the Ravens. I can see them leaning on McNichols in this one much, much more. They've been pretty committed to one guy. I know Eckler's been mixing in when he's there just a little bit, but they really rode one guy pretty good.
For sure. And then obviously Terry's the number one, but anyone else popping up for you? We talked about this a little bit last week. I did mention Noah Brown. He had a good game. 4 receptions, 8 targets, 58 yards. Not a ceiling game, but showing at least a little potential to maybe be the number 2 while McCaffrey still develops.
Yeah, 100%. 20% target share and a good offense with a bad defense. I think he's a good pickup. He joined the team late, so he should be kind of continuously growing into his role. As fans, we want to see more Luke, but from coaching staff perspective, I don't think they trust Luke enough. So their wide receivers have been a little tough though. Still, De'Ami Brown, Zacchaeus have been annoying, but from a deep pass perspective, and I guess they had decent games when Noah was out, but Noah seems to be a decent option.
Yeah, Noah's sneaky. He was good last year with the Texans when they needed him too.
Dude, Chiefs Niners. Damn, Kareem Hunt's the leading rusher. That's crazy.
Shut up.
Dude, how many games did Pacheco play? 3? 2?
2.
Kareem looks a little slow out there, not quite the pep in his step from the old lad, but volume monster. He's going to catch a couple passes. He should be the goal line guy. He looked good in between the tackles, really. He does a nice job of just like kind of bobbing and weaving and jumping over guys, just getting the yards they need. I don't think we're going to see him break off 60-yard touchdowns anytime soon, but occasionally 15 to 20-yard run and good efficiency, a couple pass catches. He's a pretty good RB2 flex.
It's crazy. 41 touches in 2 weeks.
Mahomes loves kind of just being a short dump-off merchant. Samaji takes a little value, but they rode him pretty good last game. They're going to ride him all they need to until Pacheco gets back, I think. They don't have Rasheed. Kelsey's old. They need weapons. I really like having Hunt and Worthy going forward, at least until Pacheco gets back. I think Worthy's been sneaky good. I know it's like been really ugly, actually. Like if you watch the games with Worthy, it's like drop pass, right? And a swing pass that's actually a rush instead of a reception. You're just like, that's a point, but it adds up. There was like a game, it was like 4 times it happened. But he has gotten into the end zone. He has splashed, which you expected. You got to expect it just gets a little better. From a rookie perspective to this point, it's been pretty good. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year, 3 touchdowns on the year.
4.
2 rushing. It's not bad.
Who's going to be their first loss?
We'll see if Mahomes can sit back there and toss it if the 49ers dominate. I don't know. The Chiefs D is good, though. It's taken everybody so long to get over the Mahomes Chiefs are not an offensive powerhouse. People still draft those guys like they are, but they're not. They're a defensive team that runs the ball and is efficient and, picks up first downs. They don't attack downfield. Worthy has 1 bomb. They probably are middle of the pack to bottom of the pack in explosive plays this season.
Do miss those days, though.
Yeah.
Tyreek days.
I think if they can get Worthy looking like Tyreek, just imagine what that does for Kelsey, Juju. I mean, what that would have done for Rasheed. I think maybe Rasheed had a few bad weeks with Worthy did go off, but from there, Rasheed would have just been like a godsend. Just like 10 yards, couple of tutties mixed in here and there. But going back to my point about the defense is good, so they don't get in shootouts.
Yeah, they've been good for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Transitioning over to that side of the ball.
Yeah, what are you thinking with Mason banged up?
Let's take a look at what's going on, what the latest is. Mason's shoulder sported a non-contact jersey during Monday's practice. If he is a go, you got to play him, obviously. Garendo should be a heavily targeted pickup this week, I imagine. I just don't know if he's going to get much run either. And even if he's the guy, Elijah Mitchell's on IR. Patrick Taylor is kind of intriguing. 5 carries last game, 1 reception, 12 yards. But he definitely mixed in. Garendo really just had that one big play at the end of the game.
Agreed. I think actually otherwise he was a little underwhelming. It was okay. They don't seem like they want to throw it to him. So maybe this is a game they put in Brock's hands and really throw it. I don't know if the Chiefs secondary has been fully tested. Maybe this is a sneaky shootout game. Low key.
What was the score of the Super Bowl? 25-22?
Yeah, it's hard. They were so different. Did the Niners, did they play them last year or no?
Last year in the regular season?
They did. They did play them last year. Oh my God.
This was the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
What's the regular season box score?
They didn't play in 23.
High scoring games every time, though.
Mm-hmm. I just don't see them pounding the rookie all game. I think he's a good pickup. And if Mason's out, I think you play him. But I don't know how much you can expect. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's proven time and time again with running backs. But
since Mahomes been on the Chiefs, this has been the average points scored per team. So, yeah, I think that's got sneaky shootout potential. A lot of people are on low on Mahomes right now, especially with Rasheed out.
Mm-hmm.
So what time's that game? Is that during the main slate? Let me take a look.
That's got so much shootout in it.
This might be the week of the Mahomes double. It hasn't hit in so long.
Mahomes worthy Kelsey double stack.
Bring back Ayuk, bring back Debo, bring back Mason if healthy. Jennings could be a salary relief bring back if he catches a deep one. Yeah, it's like not sneaky, but it's going to be lower owned than it should be, if that makes sense. More people are going to be attacking Commanders, Panthers. They're going to be attacking Texans, Packers, games like that. Seahawks, Falcons, Ravens, Bucks. I guess we'll talk about next. That's a good one too.
Yeah, that's an interesting. You want to shift to that one? That's the Monday night game, I think. One of them. There's 2 Monday night games.
That'll be the last one we talk about as we wrap up here. Let's go to the Monday night game. There's 2 games. Oh, that's fun. Those are fun DFS slates because they're not MVP captain slates where you have to pick one captain and then flex plays. You could actually pick a full lineup with 4 teams. So that'll be fun.
I actually like it if one game's bad too. It makes a lot more outcomes on Monday night, which is fun.
More outcomes for what you need from your guys. There's too much riding on this Jets-Bills game this week, which was annoying. Like all my leagues were riding on that game.
There are so many fantasy guys.
I needed 25 from Brees, and if he got in the end zone when they stopped him right at the goal line, would have won. Conklin caught 2 of his 4 targets. He dropped 2 of them. If he caught one of those 2 he dropped, I would have won. And then Eric, if Curtis caught that ball, he would have won. So it's just such thin margins.
It's crazy when you really break it down by the end of the week.
Absurd. Nothing to really talk about as far as Lamar and Derrick Henry go. They're just absolute smashes. You're playing them every week, no question. Baker keeps getting slept on in our league. Just keeps sitting on the pine, but he's just putting up monster numbers every week. Have to imagine he's going to get scooped this week. Bucky, definitely going to be starting Bucky if Rashad White's out again this week. You're playing TJ, so that's going to be interesting. Feel like how that shakes out is going to be a large factor in your matchup. Let's just take a look. Obviously, Bucky's healthy, but let's take a look at Rashad and see how he's trending. Just as questionable. Not sure if he practiced today or not. Do you have any news on that situation?
Just Tuesday. We're talking here. So not many teams practice Tuesday. We'll get updates Wednesday. I don't think he's in good shape. I could see him missing 3-4 weeks, Joe Mixon type Jonathan Taylor's missed a few weeks now, but I think that ankle is going to linger. Sean Tucker exploded in this game, so he seems to be a hot pickup this week. It's hard to say. That game was just kind of wild. I think he's relevant, but it'll be interesting to see in a game with Baltimore how much he's used. I think he's a 10 carry guy. I think he's a flex play. I think he really just taken the Rachaad White role, and he did well with it. And I think Bucky's role is actually bigger than what it has been, and it grew a little bit, but they're not going to pound Bucky 20 times in between the tackles. They got his plays. They want to get him on the edge a bit and in his packages. So I think maybe we'll see more Bucky actually in the Ravens game, but I think Tucker's good for 10 carries, 2 catches. He had like the 35-yard catch, and then he got all those points on the last drive, and I had another big catch. It's hard to count on those huge plays again, whereas Bucky's proven to be a little more efficient to this point in his career. But I don't see Rachaad playing this week, to be honest. I'm counting him out.
Yeah, that'll be a big one to monitor.
Say Rachaad is healthy. I actually think he's just the one that becomes unplayable. And so does Sean Tucker, because they're just going to kind of bounce those guys, where Bucky's still going to get his 10 carries on those little jet sweeps they run for him, couple screen passes. You want to RB1 in that offense, because that offense has been so fruitful, but it's just not going to happen unless 2 of those guys get hurt. Then all the work will fall to one of those guys. But
yeah, I didn't realize Sean Tucker was only 22. He feels like he's like 35 for some reason.
I was actually trying to look through my cards, and I was trying to remember what draft class he was in. I'm sure I got some in the box back there, but he looked fine. He looked good. This will be a good test. The Ravens are good against the run. They struggle against the pass, so they could just kind of throw it all game like the Bucs really love to do. I want to see Bucky catch like 5 passes in a game. Godwin's been unbelievable this year. It's crazy. Sell high, you think?
I don't know.
He's been so good. He just feels like a sell high because he's been so good. He's probably wide receiver like 5. Not 1.
It's his no headband year, which is TJ Van Gerven and I's way of saying you're in your prime, because that was the year LeBron against, I think it was the Spurs, his headband came off and he just went off in the fourth quarter. He was 28 that year, just in his absolute prime. So when we were 28, anytime you had an excuse, you were just like, shit, we got to go out. It's no headband year. So that was like our prime. So I don't know if you saw high. It's like his no headband year. He's in his prime. But now Mike had a dud. Maybe sell high on Mike after a 2-touchdown game. But once again, he's just not sexy. And Mike's probably going to have the 2 touchdowns next week. Mm-hmm. Just kind of a good offensive environment right now.
Godwin housed like a 55-yard touchdown from like broken tackles. It wasn't designed. Mike Evans' touchdowns are all designed to Mike Evans. I'd much rather have Mike Evans this year personally, but Godwin's been a little more volume, higher floor play. That's always been the case with them. Nothing's changed, even with Brady leaving, Baker coming in. The Bucs are really good, really, really good from the bottom. Cade Otton's like somewhat relevant. They get Sterling Shepard involved, McMillan involved. They're a good offense.
How much do you credit Brady for them being successful right now? Obviously, Baker's at the helm, but how much of an impact does that make? I don't know. Like, if he never came to them, are they playing this well right now? Like, I think like it has a little trickle effects on the coaching staff, the defensive players that are still around, just his winning mindset and things like that. I just feel like he left them in a really good spot.
Mm-hmm. You got to give the GM a ton of credit. I think that, signing Baker, like to fill those shoes of Brady, how hard was that of a decision to pick somebody to fill Tom Brady's shoes? And they did it seamlessly. Baker's been a perfect leader, and back-to-back years now have been really good. And taking another step, they've got a new OC this year, his name like Liam Cohen or something, who's just been awesome, and they're clicking on all cylinders. Yeah, let's look at some odds. Go to the touchdown odds. Let's look at Tutty odds.
I just wanted to look real quick at MVP odds to see how high Baker and Darnold are. Darnold plus 1,400. I think he was plus 5,000 not too long ago. And Baker plus 3,000. I like CJ. I like Josh. Darnold's a long shot, but he's playing like one. Even Joe Burrow's playing like an MVP. They're just not going to have the record. So yeah, Mahomes, I don't know. I it's so hard to see him winning unless he just gets really hot second half. Maybe that's Vegas saying Eric made a bad trade and Mahomes is about to start cooking like he used to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just got to change the game.
High
Monty,
chance.
just huge favorite. Justin Jefferson, huge favorite. You rarely see a receiver being that big of a favorite. So that more or
Mm-hmm.
less means Justin Jefferson is guaranteed to score. Like Aaron Jones actually has leverage off of Justin Jefferson. A lot of people are going to be on him. A lot of people are going to be on that whole side of things. And Amon-Ra, it's just a good play, and he's a heavy favorite. I feel like I haven't seen him that big of a favorite yet, so they know something. Here's one. Boom, boom, chickadee, boom, boom. Ty Chandler plus 100. He's
Yeah,
scoring. No,
Aaron Jones has like a hip thing, so I don't know if he's gonna play or not. Ty's got good odds right now.
why is he a bigger favorite than Jahmyr Gibbs? Get the fuck out of here, dude. That's
Yeah,
one. I'm gonna play Ty Chandler in every lineup next week.
that is
He's a
pretty crazy.
bigger favorite than Amon-Ra. Fuck out of here. So we got one here. Let's make a little list.
Yeah, whoever the running back is for Minnesota is scoring a touchdown this week. They're literally telling us. All right, let's go to the next
Yep.
game. Oh, that's all they
Damn.
got. Here, I can pull it up on mine.
Ty Chandler. Good to know. Good to know.
All right, let's see what we got here. Let's look at some TD score. That's all the games we got. Damn, that's all the games they're gonna show us. They ain't got nothing else ready.
It's
That's
early, and they probably don't want to put him up just with injuries pending.
we don't even have practice reports yet this week, so it makes it a little tough.
Fair enough. Well, that's all we had for you for week 7 of the Fantasy Sharps podcast. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Good luck in week 7.